Kane, it's 1-0. We're fucking down. 13th in the championship. The takeover happened, as I said it would. People will be... Oh, when have we got Leeds? Now then, people, welcome back to the Just Joe Football Show and another episode of The Final Word. Big up to tonight's panel as well. Of course, we've got the return of Evie. We've got Ollie Ward in the house as well. Joe Blackburn and JT will be on his way as well. I hope you're all doing well. I hope everyone had a good... it wasn't ruined too much by Boxing Day and Leeds United. Before we get into it, I just wanted to say a few things about yesterday's result because I didn't have a time to do a post-match reaction. I was pissed off, I was tired, I was exhausted, and I went straight to bed. I was that kind of mood. I was supposed to do Leicester versus Ipswich, but I thought, well, what's the point anymore? There is no point because we've now got Southampton in between us and them. So, like, you know, Joe's not here. Joe should be here because he, you know, has some humble pie to feed to me, no doubt. But he's not here; he's busy tonight. So yeah, that's it. That's a bit of a shame. Big up to JT who's just joined us as well. A lot of people. It's Christmas, isn't it? Everyone's all right. So I just want to say a few things. Daniel Farke for me is still the man. I don't see the need. What's frustrating me is everyone says, I'm not quite Farke out, but just say you're Farke out because we know you are, right? Just stand by your guns and say what you want to say, okay? Because there's people out there that ain't actually standing by what they say. If you're going to say it, fucking say it. In terms of Archie Gray as well, everyone's bending over backwards to get this guy out of right back, okay, which I understand. But if we didn't have a decent right back waiting in the wings in Jed Spence, no one would be hammering this kid as much as he received yesterday. I'm hearing people say he's had half a good game or he's been okay in bits and bats. That's bullshit. He had his best performance against Ipswich, has been absolutely phenomenal all season, right, and has had two poor games, two poor halves, I would say. One against Jack Clark and one against Miller, right? That is it. That is it. So anyone who wants to come out and say this guy's no good, he shouldn't be playing in that position, and all that sort of stuff, I disagree. I do disagree. I do believe because Spence is there, it's almost magnified. It's magnified. But Liam Miller was good yesterday. This is just my opinion on Archie Gray. All of a sudden, this guy needs a rest. He needs this. He needs that. He's absolutely phenomenal, if not one of the best players of this season. In terms of Leeds United, where we're at currently, I'm sad. I'm sad about the whole situation, if I'm being totally honest, because it's a realization that, okay, this might get away from us. I think where my head's at before I reassess, I want to wait till we get to the January the 1st. We've got two games. We've got West Brom and then we have Birmingham City. I want to assess where we're at before I then revise my whole thoughts for the season because the games are so thick and fast. We have a game Friday, we have a game on New Year's Day, so it's so thick and fast. So I'm hoping the others will drop points and then reassess it. Southampton are there, just on Ilian Meslier as well, because no doubt, you know, I rate the guy. He was an idiot yesterday. I will not stand and defend him for what he did because he shouldn't have done it. Like, it was an idiot move, but the guy's not a poor goalkeeper for me. Yes, he made an error, and it was an easy lightning rod for everybody that dislikes him to say this guy's a clown. I disagree. I do disagree, and we'll wait and see what Darlow can do, because if Darlow does well in these games, he'll keep his place. We already understand Daniel Farke as a manager. If you play well in a position for a period of time, you will keep your place. That's why Archie's played at right back for as long as he has, right? We spoke to the Norwich fan who said Sorensen was a midfielder. He went in at left back at Norwich and stayed there for the remainder of the season, even though when the left back came back, because Farke rewards decent performances. That's why he's continued to reward Archie Gray and played Spence out of position. You would hope that might change. That might change. But what I just don't like is revisionism on Archie Gray's full season. I think it's wrong. Meslier is still a good goalkeeper. I think we'll miss him in the games. I think I've seen some takes saying Leeds United need to go get this player, that player, and like the new goalkeeper thing, it's way down the pecking order. Let's be real. For me personally, it's way down the pecking order. We need a 10. We need a number 10, and we need a left back, I think, to certainly balance out the side. I just want to, again, and people will probably say this on the panel, and we'll say that, but you weren't saying that after Ipswich. You weren't saying that. So one game, okay? I understand it, but this is what I'm talking about when we revise the whole season, the whole 30, however many games we played, 23, halfway through, 24. All of a sudden now it's like, nah, Daniel, no, you just don't do that. It's crazy. Well, it got us to third in the league. It was doing all right. So I don't know if we're gonna do that. I just try to be objective, but listen, it is what it is. Now, what I'm gonna do is pass over to Evie, because I think it's only fair that Evie, me and Evie had a little bit of a debate, as it were, on the last final word, and what she said bared fruit. So I feel it's fair to hand over to her, Evie.
Well, I don't want to be right. It wasn't something that I actively pursued, that I wanted to be correct. I wanted Farke to learn. I want us to win every game. I think it's just frustrating when the failings are so obvious to all of us. Even like you, who was adamant, that we would be exactly where we were. That there are mistakes. We can't break down a low block. We persist in the same starting 11. We refuse to put a right back at a right back, regardless of how good Gray is. The guy's 17. We don't want to cripple. Imagine if we don't go up and Gray gets crippled because of the amount of games that we play. Like, that's just a double whammy. That's not, we lose out on a extravagant bid from Liverpool or whichever team TalkSport want to say next that he's linked to, and we get stuck with a 18-year-old who can't play anymore for, lengthy periods of time. It's, Sam Byram 2.0 kind of thing. We don't want that. We need a left back, like you said, and we need a number 10. And I do think genuinely we can't actively judge Farke until the end of January, because right now he's not even had a full transfer window, because you can't say that August and the summer in general was a normal transfer window, because it wasn't. So I don't think we can actively 100% say, yes, he's the right man, or 100% say, no, he's not the right man. We need a full squad of his choosing. And what I said to you the other day, which you disagreed with as well, is that Leicester were a mid-table Premier League team because of their depth, not because of their starting 11, because our 11 has clearly just enough to, as theirs, because we beat them. But, and what's he called? Maresca? He trusts his squad. Farke doesn't. That's the difference. He can rotate, whereas Daniel refuses to rotate.
Do you think he doesn't trust them, though? Or he's just stubborn? I think he trusts them, but maybe he's stubborn.
I think it's a bit of both, because he clearly is trusting more. Like Nonto, for instance, is getting more minutes than Bamford.
And Gruev
even
more recently.
Gruev, Gruev, I was just saying, he's starting to make an impression, which I think is good. I just wish he could have maybe made an impression, or allowed him to make an impression earlier on in the season. And maybe now we could be resting, Ampadu for a game or two. We could have maybe rested him yesterday and had Gruev and Kamara, or Gruev and Gray even, and have Kamara as an impact later on. There's lots of different ways that we could do it, but I do think that we aren't doing our job. And Southampton, I came in the chat yesterday morning and you said, I will talk about Southampton when they overtake us. And guess what? 2 hours later, they overtook us. So we're going to have a chat about that this evening as well.
We can, for sure.
Because we can't. I think the problem is, and a lot of people are not going to like me for saying this, but we're arrogant. We have an arrogant fan base who believe that we are better than we are. What have we seen other than the 1920 and 2021 season? What have we seen to say that we are better than we are? Because we're not.
So So in response to that, what I will say is, I think we have every right to be arrogant with the current squad we have. What I don't like, and this is what makes me sad, is, and I used the word before after we drew or whatever it was before Ipswich. I think the fan base, almost like those that listen, everyone's entitled to their opinion. And yeah, I'm triggered, you're triggered, they're triggered. It is what it is. This is what we do, right? But I think there is this level of expectancy that maybe they're quick to want rid of Farke and stuff. I think I read a comment earlier on, and I think it was bang on to say outside of Bielsa, Farke's probably the best manager we've had in 2 decades.
I agree.
So these people are saying, "Oh, there's question marks over him." I'm like, "What are you going on about?" Like, I think that's wild.
In all fairness, to jump in there, he doesn't have much to compete against. You know, you're comparing him to the likes of Gary Monk and Thomas Christensen. You know, even Dennis Wise is probably in that mix. So
yeah.
Look at the squad of players that he's working with, as opposed to the ones Christensen was working with. You know, you're looking at European quality players like Somerville, and then one manager had Pierre-Michel Lasogga up front. So, you know, there's context.
Exactly the same squad as Bielsa.
Yeah.
Sorry?
Wasn't Christensen working with 90% the same squad as Bielsa, though?
Yeah, but Bielsa's you know, he's an anomaly. He transforms players. So we can't compare Bielsa to anyone. Bielsa can turn trash into, you know, a Michelin star meal overnight. He's just a freak. So
I just like this for me is such a wild take. And everyone's entitled to their opinion, but the fact that
that's ridiculous.
That we're thinking, oh, is he the right man? I think it's wild, but that's me. I don't think Michael's alone. This is my point where I'm saying, because I've seen it. I don't think he's alone. That people, and this is what I'm saying about, like, do we listen? I am arrogant going into games. People. I had to block someone because they were like, you said we'd batter them like in the 70th minute. Yeah, it's easy to come for me there, but why didn't you pull me up when before the game and said we won't batter them, they'll beat us? We should have battered Preston. Preston is shit. I still stand by that statement.
But
they were
shit. How many times do we come up against teams that are on a 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 games where they haven't won a game? And here, you know, enter Leeds United. Here you go. We've saved your job. You're welcome. Because we did it with Southampton and we did it yesterday with Preston. And for feck's sake, we'll probably do it with Rooney as well. So no, but this is the thing. This is the mentality. We go in there thinking that we're going to win, and actually we walk in as if we've won the game. And yes, on paper we do, but you don't win games on paper, you win them on the pitch. And they walk on there as if they've already done it, they've already won, and they haven't. And it's so frustrating that we can go and bat. Absolutely, we made Ipswich look pathetic. This is probably the best all-round team in the Championship this season, because I genuinely think they play better football than Leicester. Leicester just grind out results, but I actually think the quality of the football and the entertainment factor, at least, of the football from Ipswich is superior to Leicester. But we went and we made them look pathetic, and then Preston come and pull our pants down. And I just don't get it, because like the thing that we have an incredibly sophisticated squad for the set of skills that they all have, but we don't have grizzled Championship bastards, and that is why we are not winning games. We don't have players who can, like Pablo did. If you take Pablo out of the 1920 squad, we don't get promoted, because he dragged us through so many games, and we don't have that. We don't have. Rutter isn't experienced enough in England, in my eyes, to grab. He tried. I say him and Strout were probably my favourite players yesterday. Dan James did pretty well as well to earn us quite a few good free kicks up the pitch, especially. His bum came in very useful for barging into the knees of players. But we true. But like, we just don't have that. We don't have that person, like what's he called? Miller?
Yeah.
Was it so he was there, get the ball to Miller and he'll do something with it player. We don't have that. The nearest we have is probably Somerville or Rutter. But
so we do have that.
No, but we
They
don't
just didn't do
because
it against Preston.
yeah, exactly.
We do have that.
But they don't do it more often than they do it, because they do it against the teams that we don't expect to beat, but we don't do it against the teams. We don't do it against the teams.
I beg to differ personally.
Yeah, like Rutter's created the most chances in the league.
Yeah, but has he finished the most chances?
No, but Somerville probably has.
Yeah, we can't.
Yeah, no, I agree with Somerville.
Yeah.
Somerville has, but for me,
he's created
we
like
didn't
56 big chances as Rutter. That's
I
not
get that. But for me, we didn't lose that game in the 53rd minute when Meslier got sent off. We lost that game when Somerville got fouled and was laid down on the pitch for about 5 minutes because they didn't get a card, which meant that Preston realised the ref had no control over that game from about the 20th minute onwards. So they could carry on fouling, and they continued to pick on him and Rutter, making them basically null and void from the game, and they weren't getting carded for it. The ref had lost control of that game from 20 minutes on, which played exactly into Preston's hand and exactly out of our hands. We had no control because the ref had no control. The poor refereeing decisions in this league is shocking, and it's something that we're playing right into. And that's where you get the necessity for having a grizzled championship bastard, because somebody who knows where the line is and can push it right up to, we don't have that. Because we either go down too easy or we don't go down at all. Meslier, when that guy came over from 20 yards out, should have fallen over. Then he'd have got a red card, not Meslier. Instead, his testosterone got the better of him, and he decided to put his hand out. He wasn't even looking at the player. When you watch it back, he just puts his hand out. But as soon as, obviously the height difference meant that it was straight in the face. So
but is that not what a Grizzly Championship XYZ would do in that?
No, because it's about being clever. It's about being street smart. Meslier wasn't street smart yesterday. He got played. He should have gone down then, because the goalkeepers in most leagues get protected more than any other player on the pitch. You foul a goalkeeper, it gets ruled out, other than the Tottenham goal from Harry Kane against us. But if Meslier goes down, then that whole thing never escalates, because the other player came out from, it was nothing to do with him, and the player came running out from 20 yards. Meslier falls backwards because it was a two-handed shove, and anywhere on the pitch during when the ball is live, that's a foul. Two hands on another player is a foul. So Meslier goes down there and he stops.
I understand where you're coming from, but for me, I've never played to that level of football. I played football my entire life. The push was nowhere near enough to fall down. But was it enough for the other guy to go rolling up until, man, if I'm looking Meslier in the eyes and Mellier's looking at his future kids, or he's looking at his mate or whatever, you don't go down like that. You show some class, you show some bottle as a man, and you stay on your feet. Now, what he did, which was very stupid, is raise his hand up. I mean, listen, we all know it's not a foul. We all know it shouldn't have been a red card. But if anything, he deserves a 5-game suspension for how idiotic it was. And that's what gave the game away, because until that moment, we were well and truly in the game. We were in control. Listen, we weren't playing. Yes, of course we were. We conceded the 2 goals the second Meslier came off. We brought Carl Darlow on. Carl Darlow couldn't catch a flu, let alone a football. Honestly, Meslier, the most stupid thing, you'd never raise your hands. You're taught, don't put your hands up. And the first thing as well, I don't know if anyone saw it, it's like he almost elbowed the guy. He might have got himself an 8-game suspension. First of all, he makes the save. All right, this is where your composure is meant to come in. You're meant to keep a cool head. Tries to elbow the guy in the face, almost misses, then gets head to head. The other guy absolutely rattles him. This other guy comes flying in, and then he kind of like palms him in the face, but you don't put your hand there. As for what you were saying, did we not control the game? Are we lacking championship grizzled XYZs? I disagree. I think we have enough of those in the side.
Who do we have?
We have enough players. You're talking about Pablo Hernandez and people that can win games for us single-handedly. We have those players. As I said, Rutter and Somerville. The quality
have they stepped up in these games?
Yes, they have. They have stepped up every single game.
No,
they are
these games. Yesterday.
Yes, they are. Because they are the only reason that we are where we are. And in fact, the proof that they have stepped up is Somerville had his worst game yesterday that I've seen this season, because maybe he was carrying a knock because he was injured. And when we don't have Somerville, guess what? We lose the game. Coincidence? I think not. I think that for me is the proof that he is the one stepping up, that he is the one delivering, that when we don't have him, then all of a sudden we're looking around scratching our head. Who is Rutter going to actually play the ball to? Who is he going to link up to? I thought Rutter had a phenomenal game. He just didn't have anyone to deliver the balls to. As you said, he's the best creator in the league. You can't be a creator if you've got no one to finish off. It's like Mesut Ozil when he was working with Olivier Giroud up front. You know, it's just a waste.
I will not have no Olivier Giroud slander here.
But you know what I mean, man. There's levels to this game.
Strikers in world football.
He is one of them. I do hear what you're saying. But listen, as I said, I think we do have the quality. We have more individual quality than we've ever had. And this is where I will question Farke. And this is where I will put some of the stick on Farke. Because for me, as you said, we're great against the good teams, yeah? When we play against the Ipswich, when we play against the Leicesters, everyone turns up. Everyone's fired up. And you know the reason for that? Is because a lot of these guys, as I said, some of them are at least Europa League quality. A lot of them are lower table Premier League quality. But a lot of them are better players than the Championship, a lot quality-wise, that we have in there. So those guys, when they're playing against the bigger teams, and it's a big test, all of a sudden, their adrenaline's up, they're ready to rumble, and they look switched on, and they're playing very well.
Can I ask you one thing then?
These lesser teams that we're supposed to beat, the likes of Preston, it's hard for them to get themselves up for that game because they're thinking, heck, I should be in Europe here. I'm playing against Preston.
That's not acceptable.
Yes, but that is where your manager is meant to get the best out of you. That is where the manager is meant to cultivate some sort of inspiration, some sort of passion for the team. And clearly, he's not doing that if we're only managing to perform against the bigger sides and we're throwing away. How can you... Yeah. And again, the referee, I'm not going to blame him for this because how can you go and slap Ipswich 4-0? We battered them. I know we only won 4-3, but because they scored a last minute consolation goal. We battered them earlier on in the season. We smacked up Leicester and you go and give away results like that. I'm sorry, we should have been able to give Preston a 2-goal head start and still beating them yesterday. So the referee could do whatever he wanted, to be honest. I'm not going to blame him. I'm going to blame those players. And the goals we conceded, comical.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's a bit of a.
Let's we've had a
Can I just ask one thing? Yeah. Right. How many good teams are there in the Championship, JT?
There's one, and it's Leeds. I genuinely think everyone else is bang average.
Give us a sensible answer. Give us a sensible answer. Not a JT answer.
What do you mean, not a JT answer? That is my sensible answer. Listen, let's look squad for squad. Leicester is the only squad that's comparable with us. If we're actually talking players, like, come on, there's a reason why.
No, I'm talking about
the reason why Leicester, Ipswich, Southampton, and Leeds are flying. It's all fine and dandy to say any other season Leeds would be top of the league or in the top 2 comfortably. The reason the other 2 are flying is because the quality gulf between the top 3 or 4 teams and everyone else is absolutely cataclysmic. If I'm being
all right,
I will answer your question.
So by that, no, I want JT to answer because I already know what you've answered the other day. So JT, if all the other teams, barring us, Leicester, and I'm presuming that you mean in Southampton and Ipswich as well, how come we've only dropped points to Southampton and we haven't dropped points to the top 2, but we've dropped points to most of the other Championship crap when you've got such clutch players, such game-winning players, as you just said, as Somerville and Rutter? How come they haven't stepped up in those games, but they have stepped up in the games above them?
Who you posing that question to me?
Yeah, she is, boy.
Why are you posing that? I was checking out the chat. Well, listen, as I said, the reason they're not is because we're too reliant on 2 players. As I said, I don't think.
No, but they haven't performed. That's what I've just said.
You don't think
those players? No, because we haven't won those games. Not in those specific games. We've dropped points against Southampton, Rotherham, Preston, Stoke. Hull, Sheffield Wednesday.
Didn't Somerville score against Rotherham?
Yes,
Didn't he score that wonder goal after 6 minutes where he cut it in?
Let me just move it on. I hear both sides of the argument 100%, but let's get some more level heads involved because we're all highly strung at the moment. And the 2 level heads are, of course, Joe and Ollie. They're sat there all quiet and listening. So, Ollie, someone said you're chilling, so I'm going to put it on you, bro. I think everyone's made some fantastic points. Evie has a fantastic point. Look, we are not showing up against lesser teams that we should be steamrolling. We think about Sheffield Wednesday, we think about Rotherham, as much as they, ultimately it's the low block. Ultimately, it's a team that defends well, we cannot break down. Ollie, how do we change that? Who do we put that down to? How come? Because the blueprint's there. And if teams keep doing it, we're going to come unstuck more and more. And then we're not going to get the goals that we all feel we should at the end of the season.
Yeah, I think it's a bit of both. I think, from day one, I think it's the first game we realised the low block we couldn't defend against maybe was a game like Sheffield Wednesday.
Yeah.
And that was 3-4 months ago. So why has that not been sorted out? It is what I think. I think it comes down to some of Daniel Farke's tactics. I also think, I think both Evie and JT make good points about players that are not stepping up. But then it's... If I asked you the question, what are Daniel Farke's tactics, could you give me an answer? And that's not me saying I want Daniel Farke out at all. I just think he's got a good 11 players, but I think his tactics recently have become predictable. I think there's an arrogance, not only to him, but to the players. I think they walked onto that pitch yesterday thinking they've already won the game. The likes of Jed Spence, Somerville. I just saw a not asked attitude, really, like we're playing this lower league team. And of course, we're going to beat Preston. We've just pumped Ipswich 4-0. That's how I saw it. And you don't earn anything in this league by giving it half-assed, efforts. And I don't think it's down to Farke or players. I think it's a mix of both. And I always, say the question: if you're saying Farke out, who'd you bring in? Because it's not just a Farke out thing. It's a whole process of getting in another manager. And is there a better manager statistically than Farke to get us out of this championship? If he's maybe not the man for the Premier League, fair enough. But he's definitely the man to get us out of this league. But he definitely does deserve some criticism in recent weeks. We've dropped so many points against Sunderland, Coventry, and now Preston, and we've beaten the big teams. And I understand that they're getting up for the bigger games, but it should be, the games that Southampton are winning, Leicester are winning, even Ipswich are winning. And that whole Ipswich wheels are going to come off thing, I think, is bollocks as well, because it's been 3-4 months and they're still getting performances. And, I came on the show a few months ago now, Joe, and you were saying, how easy this league is. But why are Leeds making it so hard? Like, why are we making it so hard that we just can't get results? And I think it's down to arrogance from the top to the bottom, from the fans, from the players, from the manager. I just think there's an arrogance there, and we need to sort it out if we want to get points with the. I don't like saying littler teams, because at the end of the day, Preston have just made us look silly. And I actually do disagree with JT as much as I love the man. I disagree. I don't think we're in control before Meslier got sent off at all. I thought Preston were all over us personally. But yeah, that's just my little side.
Can I just ask you one thing, though? You say about Ipswich falling off. Have Ipswich not fallen off this week? Because if we'd have capitalised on their drop points, we'd be 3 points behind them now. They dropped 7 points out of the possible 9 they could have got.
But then what about us, though? We've
No, exactly. No, we've fallen off as well. But I'm saying
okay.
You're saying the wheels are going to come off.
No, I don't think they have.
Or do you see that as a momentary blip, or do you think that's something that could extend?
I just think the thing is with Ipswich, there's absolutely no pressure, and I think I hit it more because I actually am from Ipswich, so I see it more, and my mates will support it, and they love to grill it. But there's no pressure with Leeds, with Southampton, with Leicester. There's pressure. We have to beat Preston. We have to beat Coventry. With Ipswich, if they drop points to Leicester, yeah, of course they do. It's Leicester. If they drop points to Leeds, yeah, of course. Leeds have just come down. They've got no pressure at all to be. They shouldn't be where they are. We should be in the top. If Leeds don't go up this season, it's an absolute disaster.
Agreed. Yeah, I'm not under any illusions whatsoever that it would be. I agree with you there, 100%, Ollie. And I think you said a lot there that was bang on. Joe, I know you like myself are like a fan of Farke, a fan of Meslier, maybe disappointed with what seems to be quite a big contingent of the fan base, maybe not so happy with Farke and saying he's the right man for the job and whatnot. But I do just want to get your thoughts on what Ollie said about what are his tactics, because it does seem to be a little bit one-dimensional when we do play these teams. We try to funnel it down the left. There's no switches out to the right. Is it a case of just get the players into the final third and expect them to work magic? And sometimes we need a little bit more than that, right?
Yeah. I think there's a reason that we do so well against the bigger sides, and that's because when it comes to Daniel Farke's tactics, it excels in sort of transitional stuff. It excels in, we've got Somerville and James and maybe Nonto, depending on who's on the pitch, and Rutter, and Piru will get there eventually. all sort of rushing out against a defence that isn't organised. And then when we play against these smaller, well, again, as you mentioned, smaller teams, they're not really smaller, but and when we play against your Sheffield Wednesdays, your Rotherhams, your Birmingham will probably play this way. You're against a team that is just playing banker 4, banker 5, big lad up top. And you can't do anything transitional against that. And we've had mentions of Pablo, and we don't have a number 10 that is like capable of breaking down that incredibly low block. So when we're entirely unable to do that, Ruter is good at taking on his man and then running into the space behind, creating a chance with it. Somerville is good at dribbling past his man, putting in a ball either from the byline or cutting inside, having a shot. Dan James is good at, I will kick it 20 yards and I will just beat you in the foot race to it. When it comes to it, when you've got two banks in their own third and then just some bloke they're going to huff it up to at some point and inevitably will concede from that, there's not too much that those players can do. So it's more of a recruitment thing, in my opinion, than a tactics thing, because the jigsaw is fine. The jigsaw goes together really well, but we've not got the right pieces to break down that specific problem. Like, football management is, more than anything from the perspective of Farke, like a puzzle. And if Daniel Farke doesn't quite have the solution to breaking down that low block, obviously we're going to lose those matches, and obviously we'll beat Leicester and we'll beat Ipswich because they'll actually try and play football against us. Yeah. We're good when we play football. We're not good when the other team doesn't. Basically, I think that's bang on, and that's the conundrum, isn't it? And that's the conundrum why we lose to these teams that will sit in and will do that, as opposed to, teams that will come and play us. Because in transition, we are the best in the league. I remember the goal for Huddersfield. We score in 23 seconds. Maybe Leicester could have a shout with that as well. We've seen that goal that they scored against Birmingham, Mavadidi, Dewsbury Hall. That was quick. But we do go from back to front at real pace when the opportunity allows it. But like you say, against these teams that do sit in, you can't do that. You can't do that. And the thing is, when I spoke to the Norwich fan, I asked if it was ever an issue for them, and it just never was, because they had Buendia. They had Buendia, they had Todd Cantwell, they had what's his name now? Stiepermann. They had these players that were apt at playing that way. And sometimes you have to give the manager the tools that he needs, and ultimately he didn't get Amiri, and I think Amiri was that player for him, and it's certainly an area of the pitch that needs to be addressed and quick. Evie, I'll come back to you. Obviously, now we sit in fourth. Confidence is really, really low, within the fan base, for sure. There seems to be a resignation that that's it for us now, and playoffs. And I think because of our history in playoffs, we're all believed that we're going to be in the Championship next season. And even I struggle to try and be positive about the playoffs because I just don't see it happening.
I'm different. I'm positive about that.
Okay.
Because
so would you be happy with playoffs?
Well, at the beginning of the season, I think we would have been happy with playoffs, because I don't think we expected us to be as good as we are.
I disagree. I thought we were going to win the league.
No, but when Simi left, when Adams left, there was a massive, when you're at Birmingham and you're there playing Jamie Shackleton as a winger, do you really think that you're going to win the league with that team? No. We'd be lucky to, stave off just mediocrity with that table, not promotion. So I think most people, realistically, now you're a big, you love a strong opinion, and you're a very passionate person, which is something to be admired, but it's also something that can be picked apart when actual facts come and slap you in the face. But I do
cooking today, man.
What are
for Joe?
No, I just mean the fact that at the beginning of the season, with the team that we had, with the amount of chaos that we were going through, playoffs would have been a really good position for us.
And we've then that's mad. It's mad.
What specific facts are you throwing in Joe's face to discuss?
I'm throwing the fact that we would have been happy. Most fans. I'm not calling you most fans. One sec. Let me speak. So I think most realistic fans would have been happy with getting the playoffs.
No. So now I'm unrealistic.
No, I'm saying that you're passionate, and sometimes you're. No, let me speak. I'm saying you're passionate. Realistic doesn't have to mean that you doubt that you're negative. It just means that you can see things pragmatically. I think I'm realistic. I would be happy with the playoffs because none of these players that play every game have lost a playoff final. In fact, some of them have actually won it with the under-21s. So, just because Leeds notoriously have been bad in playoffs, guess what? None of those players have been in a playoff before with Leeds. Daniel Farke hasn't been in a playoffs with Leeds. You say that you can't control what goes on the pitch by what you say, because you shout out fans who say, why are you coming after me because I said we do this and now we're not doing it. So with that same point, we can't say that we have any control over the playoffs. The players and the manager have control over the playoff. And so far, those players and that manager hasn't lost a playoff final. So why can't we be confident? If we're that confident that we can get automatic, why can't we be confident that we can get playoffs? I don't understand the disparity.
Just because of the history with the club in the playoffs.
The club, it's not just all the players. Look at Liverpool and how they always do well in Europe, and then you got other sides like Man City with an amazing squad and an amazing manager, but it took them ages to get over that hurdle. There is something to be said about club history and good omens and bad omens. I don't think you can. There is.
No, I agree. But if you let that fear control you, guess what? We never get promoted out of League One, let alone out of the Championship into the Premier League. That fear has to be overcome at some point, which is where the players' mentality, and that's what I was saying about earlier on about a grizzled Championship person, because of the fact that if we don't have that mentality, we don't get promoted. It has nothing to do with how good our squad is. It's a mentality thing. Just like we should believe that we should win every game, but it doesn't believe that we shouldn't believe that we have won the game already. That's the difference. We have to have confidence going in. We have to display that confidence on the pitch. We have to we weren't getting any second balls yesterday. We were soft with everything. And it's the second balls that kill you, because I think, now I apologize if I've got this wrong, but I think that it was Nonto who lost the ball up the pitch, which then started the counter attack, which led to the second goal. I can't be 100% sure, because I haven't watched the game back again because it was depressing and I didn't want to be depressed on Boxing Day again. But I'm sure it was him that lost the ball high up instead of just controlling it, because at that point, I think realistically we were happy with a point because we probably didn't deserve a point. Because we came from behind. Strout, brilliant penalty by Strout, and I really feel, I meant to say this the other day, the game that we won against Ipswich was the first game that Strout has scored in, and we've gone on to get all 3 points. He's never scored in a game where we've won before. So I meant to, and obviously, it's going back and happy times of Saturday, but I just don't see the fact of why can't we be good? Why, at the end of the day, if we get second, fantastic, absolutely amazing, no worries. But wouldn't it feel amazing if we won at Wembley?
100%. There's not that feeling.
And I know that we've got bad history. I know that. Yeah. But this team doesn't have bad history. This manager doesn't have bad history. So why can't we just get out of our own backsides and just be positive? I just don't get it. This team hasn't lost. This team didn't lose to Derby. This team hasn't. Yeah, but the
same team that lost to Doncaster wasn't the same team that got slapped up 3-0 by Watford. It's irrelevant. I'm just talking.
In our fan base, we live in a self-fulfilling prophecy. We believe that we're going to lose in playoffs, so therefore we build it up as if we've already lost the game. So we don't go into the game believing that we can win. We go into the game thinking, that was shit.
On the pitch, is it?
And you've also got a little.
No, but that's the mentality. That's what I'm saying.
You're talking about the fans. Of course, the fans are going to be fearful of the playoffs. If I'm walking down the street to my local supermarket and Ollie robs me, he beats me up, robs me, steals all my money. He does that every single day I'm there. Well, guess what? The next week, if I see Ollie with his nice snapback sat on the other side of the road, I'm booking it away from him. I don't want to be in that situation again. Of course, we're going to be mentally scarred. We're not the ones in control of the players. The players are, and you make a good point. Yeah, of course. You know, they're still the ones that are on the pitch. They have a clean slate. They're playing in the playoff final, but you're throwing shade at fans for getting worried about.
No, I'm not throwing shade.
Well, I mean, you kind of were throwing a bit of shade by saying that Joe and me and people that thought we should get automatic promotion at the beginning of the year were a bit delusional.
Unrealistic.
Listen, I think it
is unrealistic with the turmoil that we went through. And all right, Joe.
No,
all right.
Not before
Okay.
the season started, Evie.
Before the season started. I know we had a lot of problems. We had a lot of problems with the squad and whatever. But we still made some good signings after that. Of course, we had that bad patch where we were in the middle of two squads. We didn't bring a manager until too late. We had that Birmingham game, which was tragic. Of course, everyone knows that. And at that point, you were kind of down in the dumps. But if you look at it as a clear evaluation of the squad we had, of the club that we are, of the fact that that we used to be in the Premier League. I love him. I just had to use him for the example. But then we should be, as fans, sat there like, you know what, why shouldn't we be getting automatically promoted? You bring in a manager who has a proven track record of getting promoted. You have more individual quality than we had in the side that got us promoted under Bielsa. Then you should be sat there as fans and thinking, you know what other teams really are going to give us a run for our money? At the beginning of the year, are you seriously telling me that anyone would look at Ipswich and say, yeah, that side are going to finish?
No, I agree.
It's completely realistic for Leeds fans to say we should get automatic, and I don't see anything wrong with that. I'm curious as to what actual facts there would be that would dispute that, and therefore
Well, where's our position in the table?
Unrealistic. Well, listen, that's looking at things from hindsight. Anyone can look like
it's looking at facts. You can't predict facts, can you? You can only look at them retrospectively.
But that's like saying no one expected us to do anything under Bielsa, and then we ended up being one of the most dominant sides in the league. Hindsight is 2020. You know, anybody can say anything out of hindsight. That's not facts that dispute the moment. That's like me saying Man City should beat Accrington Stanley. They go and lose 1-0. In a cagey game. Should I have said that they shouldn't have won?
Yeah, that's the point, isn't it?
It's slightly different scales, though, isn't it?
Yeah, no, but I think sometimes you get, but you can be hammered for expecting your team to do well. I think we're right to say that Leeds United have. Anyway, let's move it on.
But one sec, with that same positivity, why can't I be positive that we would win the playoffs then?
You can. No one said you did.
If you're positive that we can get automatic, then why can't we be?
Can be.
No, but you're saying like JT is saying that I should stop having a go at the fans. I'm not having a go at the fans. I'm just saying that we have this eternal pessimism that comes with being a Leeds fan. Why can't we turn that around? Why can't we say we can win? We can absolutely smash it at Wembley because we.
No one said you can't. No one said you can't. Of course you can be.
No, I didn't dispute anything you said. All I said was you were saying that people like me and Joe are unrealistic, and the facts would dispute. I was just inquiring as to what the facts were. I think it was.
I was saying by the end of August.
We'll agree to disagree. We'll agree to disagree.
Yeah, agree to disagree.
I'm so glad I decided to not start arguments with Evie. Seriously, I'm glad I agree.
Oh, don't you make me sound like I'm just a bitch.
No.
Yeah.
Well, you're passionate. You know your stuff. It's good because it's an open debate.
It's good. Exactly.
If we all agreed with each other, then we wouldn't hear other points of view, and it wouldn't be a good discussion. So
100%.
There's no emotion. It's all business. We at the end of the day, we all want Leeds to do the best we can. So of course, we're going to get a bit passionate about it.
We all want the same goal, don't we? Right. Okay. So Matt makes a great point. We've had a couple of super chats, which I will get to as well. Don't worry, folks. But this seems to be a running theme as well, Joe Blackburn. Away from home, we are 10th in the league. That has to improve. It must improve because we will not go up if it doesn't. Playoffs or bloody automatics, whichever one you want, because we need to start putting teams away from home. Because at home, we're fine. I'm concerned about West Brom. That's why I'm waiting to revise my season predictions until January the 1st. Because if we don't come through West Brom unscathed, I'm worried about that West Brom game because they're a very good team. They're a very well-coached team. And that's going to be a tough evening for us on Friday. But, Joe, what's the difference? Why we like this? We need to change it.
I thought I'd have a quick look at the numbers myself, just because I thought that's a very, very weird statistic. I didn't hugely believe it, and I think I was right to not hugely believe it, because it's very, very specific to say in the last 6 away matches we've been bad, because across the entire table we're 4th on away form, which is
okay. So Matt's
where
lying.
we are.
Thanks, Matt.
That's fairly standard. Like away form, sure, but like the fact that it's happened in the last few weeks, that could easily be we've also not we didn't win against Coventry at home. Which was it, Coventry at home? I can't quite remember.
Yeah, it was.
There's been so much football in not any time at all, so it's just. And it's. I think the main difference is, and I know it's such a stereotype to say this, but I think it's quite heavily the crowd that sort of goes, okay, so can we score a goal now? And eventually, Retear will get his arse in gear and put in that nice little through ball for Somerville, and eventually Jed Spence will remember that he's a left back and he has to track in a little bit sometimes. And eventually Archie Gray will find that nice little pass down the wing to Dan James, and Dan James is in behind, cuts it back. Nice little finish for Piru. Piru might even find himself with the ball in the box. That'd be quite good. But I think the crowd that is actively sort of pushing the team on to do something definitely helps. And also you've got away sides coming to Welland Road going, it'd be great if we got an upset here. And occasionally their game plan will go out the window. A team that wants to sit deep will have a winger or central midfielder that goes, there's a little bit of a gap there, I'm going to go for it, challenged by Stroke, and we're immediately back up their end of the pitch. Yeah. I think Elland Road is, and I know it's some weird Leeds elitism or something to say this, but it's a little bit different in the way that people will be sort of inspired as Leeds players and sort of inspired as away players. But as I mentioned earlier, against other teams that are actively trying to play football, we do quite well. Because in terms of quality for quality, we are better than those teams. It's just when they've got a plan that we can't beat, that's a bit of a problem. I also saw someone say earlier that Daniel Farke doesn't have enough of a plan B, and it showed this weekend. It's quite hard to have a plan B for your keeper getting sent off, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't.
How exactly do you...
This plan B stuff for me is BS anyway, bro. I think that all the top managers don't have a plan B. It's plan A better. You know what I mean? I think Bielsa put it right when he used to say, if I ask the players to start changing, then they lose faith in what I'm asking them to do. People will disagree with me. That's fine. And everyone's entitled to their opinion. Of course, there are more than one way to fry an egg, or whatever the saying is. I've probably butchered that. There are more... something like that anyway. There are more than one ways to cook an egg. I don't know. You know what it is? It's like the baby out of the bathwater. That's the one, skin a cat. It's the baby out of the bathwater analogy, but I got it right just then for the first time. Yeah, so we'll have to wait and see. I do just want to get these super chats in, and then we're going to have a little think about what's moving forward. Gary says, we have needed a 10 and a left back for 4 years, so we'll go and get a water boy. Heads up. Still loads of time and a transfer window. Hello all. Hello, Gary. I hope you had a great Christmas. And you're right. Transfer window is very, very important for Leeds United. Toby Ward says, in my opinion, I think we are doing a last season. Capitulating matches. Winning 4-0, then lose 2-1. What do you think? Just my thought. I don't understand what you mean, Toby, if I'm honest.
I think Jesse Marsh style. Jesse Marsh seemed to win against the big. I think that's what he's meaning, is the fact of we show up like we showed up against the bigger teams. So we gave Man U a game, we gave Tottenham a game, we gave Liverpool a game, we gave Chelsea a game, but then we lost against Crystal Palace 5-1. We lost against Bournemouth. We lost again, so we seem to do well again with the teams that came at us last season under Jesse Marsh, not so much later on, but in the Jesse Marsh, we seem to do well because we were a counter-attacking, possessionless football team last season under Jesse Marsh. So we seemed to do well when teams came at us because it created the space in behind. But and we are completely different because, like, Farke knows what football is. But I think that's the point that he's trying to make, is the fact that we seem to do well against teams that want to play football.
Yeah, and I think that's what Joe was saying, isn't it, as well? Sorry, I didn't understand it. Thank you very much, Evie, for clarifying that. Bobby says, standards are on the floor if you think we're winning playoffs with this level of inconsistency. Massive failure if we don't go up. I don't think anyone doubts that. If Leeds United don't go up, it's not good enough. I agree with you. With the players that we've got at our disposal, the manager that we've got, it's not good enough. Definitely not.
I'd say, actually, not only that, sorry to just jump in, if we don't go up, I think we're done for we could be in a seriously bad position. I don't see us bouncing back the year after, because if we don't go up, I think we lose Somerville. I think we lose Rutter.
This
I
is a
think we
given.
potentially lose Perot. We lose Archie Gray. We lose a lot of players, and that's going to be a hard rebuild after
I
that.
don't think we lose
Didn't we
Pirot.
say exactly that at the start
I don't think we
last
lose Gray
season,
either.
and then we went down and we
No,
kept
me
half those
neither.
players?
Hmm?
Didn't we say that at the start of last transfer window, and then we kept half of those players?
Well, we
That
managed
did-
to fluke our way to keep some of them. We kept Adam. We lost Adam. Sorry, we lost Harrison. We lost Sinistera. We only just held on to Nonto. Somerville, there was still question marks around. And Rutter, the only reason we didn't lose him is because he was really bang average last year in the Prem, in my opinion.
I think what I would say, I would agree with you if Radrazani and Co were still here, but the 49ers won't allow that to happen. Yes, we will lose Rutter. Yes, we will lose Somerville, but they will replace them players. Okay, they won't be of that level, but we'll be fine. Plus, the league will be worse next year for me.
Doesn't Bournemouth have an obligation to buy if we don't get promoted as well? So then that's 25 million coming in for Sinistera.
Yeah, they're very smart, aren't they, with the way that they've wrought this up. We'll be fine, I think. Horse in a council flat says Farke will give great name, right? Farke will give extra oats to the players for Friday, and we will beat West Brom, MOT, and Shergar, which is of course. And Damar, I'm going to let you have your moment. It's clear we're not getting top 2 by January the 1st now. It is what it is. You can have your moment. Everyone's reminding me, don't worry. I'm here to defend it. It's fine. We'll just get it by February 1st.
It was screwed from the moment we
our squad don't
pre-recorded
like
that
it.
predictions video. From the
What's
moment
that? Sorry,
we
mate?
pre-recorded the predictions video in which you said we'd be top 2 by the 1st of January, we haven't got a properly good result since, so I'm blaming you for that one.
Oh, right, okay, yeah, probably. Everyone else does, mate. You might as well. Right, we do have West Brom on Friday, so in just 2 days' time. I do think we were better than them at Ellen Road and should have beaten them. I look at that month of August, and I'm not going to use it anymore moving forward, folks. I'm aware now. We've seen enough games go by to say that we should have fucking closed the gap, right? These are things that I've been reflecting on over the last 24 hours, laid in my bed, depressed about Leeds United, all right? So I still think we were better than them at Ellen Road. Going to West Brom is a totally different kettle of fish. They're a very good side. And I'm not too sure how that goes because I think Corberan's a great manager, great tactician, almost took points off Leicester, went for the win, lost out. I don't know what they did with Ipswich, obviously drew with us. I don't know what the results, but they're decent. They're decent side. Ollie, I'll come to you because you haven't said it for a while, broski. How are you feeling? Are you nervous as me with this one?
It's a weird one because obviously we spoke about all night that the bigger teams we go up against, it's the teams we should be nervous for that actually Leeds go, no, we're fine for them games. It's the games where we are confident about that Leeds don't turn up in. So I think it'll be a feisty affair. And I think, West Brom are a different team to August when we played them, and so are we. And so is, look at Southampton back in August to who they are now. So I think it'll be a completely different game. They're very physical. And again, I remember watching them not too long ago on the telly, and they're very physical. And will that work in Leeds' favour? I just don't think it will. That's not me saying I think we'll lose the game. I don't necessarily think we will. If I'm being completely honest, right now, I can't give you a score prediction of how Leeds are going to do because I'm just in that stage of, if I go back like tactically with Farke, as much as I do love Farke and I am Farke in 100%, it just seems like we do just have better players. We have better individuals that win us games. Yeah. And I don't see if when teams set up against us and have a good, like, if they have better tactics than us, they will just win. And it's an odd thing with Leeds at the moment. So I think if our players are up for it, and I'm getting annoyed with players like Rutter, if I'm being completely honest, when you're dicking around in your own box. And I'm not, as much as you can create all the big chances you want, but I don't want him doing all these skills. I know I'm going to sound like Neil Warnock here, but I don't want him doing the skills on the halfway line when we're 1-0 up, just about to go into halftime, he loses the ball and things like that. I'm not for it. I'm really not. It looks good when it pays off. You look a twat when it doesn't. And I think that's happened a lot recently. And I love Rutter. And the thing is, it's that thing where only because you criticize a player or a manager or the team doesn't mean you hate them. You know what I mean? And I think we need to get that into the fan base, because the amount of times I've given, individual players stick, like how poor pretty much was Somerville against Preston, doesn't mean he's a bad player, doesn't mean he's had a bad season. You can just have a go at these players. But to answer your question, I'm weirdly confident, but I'm kind of not. I would take a point, but it needs to be 3.
Yeah, it definitely does need to be 3. I think, people have been saying in the chat and stuff as well, if we were to lose this, West Brom would just be 3 points behind us, which isn't something that I envisaged would happen. I genuinely felt that once we got into 3rd, we wouldn't drop lower than that, and we have.
Isn't
my
it
worry is as well.
Sorry.
Go on, Ollie.
No, yeah, sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but don't you think it's a bit worrying how many times this season already we've had to say this is a must-win?
Yeah.
I've found that a lot. I've been saying that in my previews. Like, if we don't win, this is like and how many times? Again, it's the pressure of Leeds United. Of every time you play Leeds United, it's your biggest game of the season. We saw that just.
They must win. We keep winning, though, Ollie. That's the thing, isn't it?
Yeah,
must win Ipswich. Must win Leicester. Otherwise, the gaps are insurmountable. It would have been 17 points. It would have been 13 points. We win them games. It's like.
And the amount of times that when Ipswich and Leicester, I mean, they haven't done it a lot, but when they have dropped points, we then haven't capitalised. Like, I remember we drew 1-1 to Rotherham. The next day, West Brom beat Ipswich. And it's like, if we just won that game, would have been closer. But it's if buts and maybes, you know what I mean? And this team is way too inconsistent for the quality we've got. We've got one of the best managers in the league, one of the best teams in the league. I don't think we've got one of the best squads, similar to what Evie said. I think we've got one of the best starting 11s. But we just need to be much more consistent. And I tell you what, 2024, we have to lose maybe 3 or 4 games if we want to go top 2.
Yeah. I think you bang on. We can't afford any more slip-ups. Just looking at the fixtures, Southampton are at home to Plymouth. Plymouth are not great away from home. Southampton win that game at 6 o'clock for me. If we were to then drop points, we've then got a gap to 3rd, and then it's just not looking great, is it? And Farke ultimately will have question marks over him. Not from me personally, but I know that a lot will, because there is standards. There has to be standards, I guess, because Leeds United, as me and JT said at the start of the season, the squad, the club, the money, everything says that we should be getting promoted at the first time of asking for me. And if we don't, it's a disappointment. Genuinely,
can I ask you one thing, Joe?
Yes.
When will you question Farke?
It all depends on the games, bro. If this was to persist, so let's say, for example, we beat West Brom, we go to Birmingham City, although they come into Ellen Road. I'll just have a look. Basically, if we continue to go to these teams and continue to play in the same way, then you're doing the same things and expecting different results. At which point you say, something needs to give you, mate, because you're doing the fucking same things. That's when it becomes an issue. But no one ever is, someone messaged me saying, I know you say it because you did it with Jesse. I went early on Jesse because for me he was rubbish. Not a lot of people did. I felt strongly about it. I felt strongly about Bielsa not leaving. As you all know, I said it was the wrong decision and people disagreed. And then 6 months down the line, they were going, oh, I got it wrong. I just think Farke at the moment, he's doing all right. He's doing all right. He's got us to we're 4th. Things have dropped. Let's wait a little bit. It's too early, man. It's too early to be saying this. If in a couple, I don't know, if March is coming and we're still doing this, then you can say, right, mate, what are you doing? Because you're doing the same things. I think Joe hit the nail on the head in terms of the jigsaw puzzle and the pieces. Like with Jesse, for example, we gave him everything he wanted. We went and got him Christensen. We went and got him Max Vober. We went and got him players that were not even Premier League players, and he did nothing with them. We didn't really back Bielsa, but with Farke, I believe they will go and give him what he wants. They will do that. So if then when he gets a left back, when he gets a 10, and we're still seeing the same things, then of course it's right to question him. But I think at the minute, I think it's wild to do so, but opinions change. Football changes. You know?
And I think it's bang on also just as well, like, who would you bring in? Like, there's so much, you can see people go, yeah, Farke out, but no one has a plan B of who they want to bring in. They just want, and you can see it everywhere in football. Sacking a manager doesn't change anything. You still have the 11 out there. So, yeah, I completely agree with you. I think it's a bit of a crazy statement to be chucking out Farke out at the moment.
Yeah.
Completely agree.
Yeah, no, thank you. No, that clears it. Yeah, March. I just threw out a date, folks. People say March is too late, Joe, but I just threw out a date, like football, February, if you want, whatever. No worries. JT, how are you feeling, mate? Come on, talk to me about these next few.
About the next few, I don't know. Are you trying to get some optimism out of me? Trying to get some hope? Because as I said, right now there is none of that. I think we will batter West Brom. I think we will absolutely cream them, to be honest. Because every time we have a disappointing result, we come out and we repeat ourselves. You were saying like when you're going to start questioning Marsh, bloody hell. When you're going to start questioning Farke is when we're starting to see the same things over and over again. But how many times have we seen the pattern of Leeds giving away a stupid result we shouldn't have? Next week we go and smack someone, we put on a clinic, and then we beat some teams that we really shouldn't be beating given our current form, and then we go and lose or draw to stupid teams. Like I've seen that pattern many times. I'm not calling for his head. I'm not calling for Farke out, don't get me wrong, because as you said, there's not really many other options. Sure, maybe I'd have gone for Kobaran before if I had my perfect choice of the two, but we're not going to get Kobaran. Farke is probably the best option we've got, but I can still be critical of the same mistakes I'm seeing him make. I've seen him make one change before the 70th minute, like this entire season, pretty much, when he brought Nonto on, and he brought him on in the game that we didn't need a change, ironically, the game where we were 4-0 up against Ipswich. But as for the next few weeks, I think next 3 games, 9 points, mate. Genuinely 9 points. I think that's the minimum we should get. I think that's what we will get. And the only bit of optimism I would say going into this is if Leeds carry on this home run that we have, and let's say we stay undefeated from now until the end of the season at home, I don't see us not getting top 2. The only way is if we drop that form, because how can you say a side can keep such a great home record and still not get automatic, and then vice versa, you've got a side like Ipswich who people are expecting to get automatic, who have been slapped twice by us. Like, I think eventually things will have to level themselves out. I don't think Ipswich can get automatic over a side that have battered them twice this season. I think eventually they will start to fall off. I think you're seeing it this week. I know people were saying in the chat, listen, they drop points to Leeds, Leicester, and their rival in Norwich. So that's not them having a bad patch of form, but it is still 7 points out of 9 dropped. And I think hopefully, eventually, you would expect that to carry on. Now, the only thing that scares me is not actually Ipswich. It's Southampton that probably scare me a bit more than Ipswich at this current moment in time, because also when in any other... Exactly. And when in any other championship season have you seen the top 2 sides stay the top 2 the entire year? No, Look at our first year under Bielsa. We were sitting in the top 2 so comfortably until right at the end. And the reason I say I'm scared of Southampton is because usually it's one of those sides in the championship that come out of either the middle of the table or they're in the pack of the playoffs that no one's really talking about. And they're just quietly building up steam. And then all of a sudden they just, out of nowhere, they're like, oh, what the hell? They're third. Damn. Like, nobody would have seen that coming. Everyone's thinking about Leeds. But as of now, I think, to answer your question, next 3 games, I think we're going to have to put on a clinic. I think we will get 9 points out of 9. And I think we'll be heading into a January transfer window where big changes are going to be made. And hopefully, just a couple of acquisitions in the right areas, I think, could give us confidence going forward.
Evie, what players do we need? Just give me a number and position.
Left back 10.
Yeah, is that the 2 for you?
Like, if that's what we need minimum, and that's what I'd be happy with if we got really good ones. Like, I think it makes a massive difference, because I think if we get a left back, we can move Spence over to right back. Then Archie is a rotation option for midfield and for right back, instead of just being constantly asked to play out of position. I think obviously you have a 10. It also offers competition for Rutter. Yeah. I know it's Pirro that plays in the 10, but they interchange between 9 and 10, the Pirro and Rutter. So for me, it gives you options, which then increases output of players, because players are that starting 11, even if they're all playing really well, you're not telling me that they're not secretly very complacent because of the fact that they know that they're going to get picked every single week. So, and do they really have to play 100% when we need them to play 100%, when they know that they're going to get picked the following week? Whereas if you've got somebody who is waiting in the wings ready to take your place, then it means you up your game and you don't have drops off. Like, we do beat the lower teams because of the fact that if you don't, as an individual, don't play well, Farke can say, well, so and so's impressed me in training, so I'm going to give them a go instead. So we need that. I am very nervous about West Brom, but they're a bit like us in the fact of they go on good runs and they go on pretty poor runs. Their last 5 games, between the 5 games, we've both got the exact same results: 2 wins, 2 losses, and a draw. So I don't think we should be too fearful, but we should have beaten them because their goal shouldn't have stood. It was a handball scooped in the back of the net. So, which just goes to show how poor the refereeing again in this league is. So there's 2 more points that we should have had earlier on in the season, and that was in August. So, I think we have been hard done by with some of the refereeing decisions, especially in the early on games. But yeah, I think I'm not going to be. The 49ers aren't going to get rid of Farke. Daniel Farke has the longest contract.
It'll still be next season, if we don't go up.
It will, because he's been given the longest contract that a Leeds manager has ever been given. If we sack him, that is going to affect the amount of money that we can then spend the following season if we don't get promoted as well. So why would the 49ers choose to invest something and then shoot themselves in the foot? It doesn't make financial sense. So they're not going to sack him, and people have to just get used to that, of the fact that he has, at least for this season, he has job security. So unless 100%. I think it would take us to lose every single game in order for him to lose. That's the only kind of caveat to that. But I think he has job security this season, whether we get up or not, because I think that they probably thought of it as a 2-year project, and then we started well, and it became a 1-year project. And I'd be interested to see what the 49ers do in January, because they're stuck between a rock and a hard place, because they have to be so careful, because they can take the gamble and buy a load of players, or loan 2 more players and buy some other players, and then it doesn't work because we've missed that opportunity in the first half of the season. We've dropped silly points that then the gap is too much to get automatic, and then say we do lose in the playoffs, then we are screwed for next year if they do make that risk and it doesn't pay off. So it's a really kind of a dangerous Jenga game that they're going to have to play in January.
Yeah. Just lastly, I just want to ask Joe Blackburn. I'm just going to throw up a few comments there, just before I do, Joe. Crowd turns against Farke in the atmosphere. I disagree, John. I disagree. I don't know. Listen, the fans in the grounds are still singing bloody Paddy Bamford's name, so trust me, they ain't going to be turning on Farke anytime soon. I can't watch Farke ball for another season and a half. I don't think it's bad football, to be honest. I don't know what but again, Brendan, each to their own, I guess. Joe Blackburn, will we see changes for Birmingham? West Brom. It's in the same place. It is what it is.
Close enough. It's like when I said Borough and Newcastle are the same city.
Yeah,
Sunderland
and
Newcastle.
That is bad, by the way. Yeah. Go on. That was it. Sunderland and Newcastle. You said. I was like, you can't say that. Go on, mate.
It's a weird one, because I think the mistake that we made against who did we play in our last match? Why has that slipped my mind? But the issue that we had in our last match against Preston, that's the one, was that Piru is really, really good at finishing those transitional attacks. He's really good at getting a chance, finding a little bit of a gap, and finishing nicely into it. That's what he did against Ipswich when he scored. That's what he's done all season long when he scored the goals. However, everyone wants to see a little bit of a change, because we've just lost a match and it was really annoying. But this is the match where he's going to be quite good, because West Brom aren't going to be that team that sits off and plays boring football because it's Carlos Corberán, and we know that he came up under Bielsa. He likes interesting football. That's what he does. So that means that I think that in theory, Pirro was the better choice for that. But I think people are going to be screaming out, where's Nonto? Why isn't he starting? Why aren't we trying Anthony over Dan James and stuff like that? So I think, weirdly, the same first team tactically is the right one to have. But from a sort of fan confidence point of view, it's a bit like, well, why don't we make some changes because we just lost?
Will he move Spence to right back?
If Byram's fit. If Byram isn't fit, I don't see him playing Firpo instead, because the number of people that said, why don't we get Archie Gray out of right back in the last match, didn't quite realise that that probably means putting Firpo at left back. And do you feel more confident with Archie Gray
Not
at
such
right
a bad thing.
or Firpo? I like Firpo. He's really good at attacking.
I think that's the most obvious question someone's asked all day, to be honest.
Let's not go there. Let's not go there.
I quite like Firpo. He's really good when he's attacking and being a bit aggressive and doing a little bit of interplay. But then they get the ball, and oh dear, they get the ball.
Well, hang on. Yeah, like you said, it is risky, but just humour me for 20 seconds. Yeah, I'm not going to go big, but could you just imagine, Firpo on one wing and Jed Spence on the other? Just bombing down, giving us so much width, so much aggression, the amount of balls we'd be able to get into the box, the way we'd be able to overload sites. It would be magical.
We'd lose.
Anyway,
7-4.
on that note, let's bring it to a close. Yeah, we've done an hour and 10 minutes. Please do check out Ollie Ward. Please do check out JT Live, and of course Joe Blackburn, and Evie as well on Instagram. Evie, I don't know. Like, what do you want to push anything?
Not at the minute. Maybe later.
No, maybe later. There you go. Thanks as always for watching, folks. Please do smash a like on this video, subscribe to the channel, get your comments in, hit that notification bell and all that jazz. It was a great chat again tonight. We'll be looking ahead to West Brom tomorrow, and then Friday we've got the game itself. So I'll see you all then. Thanks as always for watching, and we are out.